Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to discuss the murder trial of Scott Roeder. Mr. Roeder has confessed to be the murderer of Dr. George Tiller. If you remember, Dr. George Tiller was an abortionist who performed late-term abortions and was murdered in his own church by Mr. Roeder. Dr. Tiller did great things. He helped women that needed abortions even though they desperately didn't want them. They needed them because of medical necessity, and he performed them. Only one of two people in the entire nation willing to do these extremely controversial procedures. Mr. Roeder is using the justifiable homicide defense, which has never worked in this particular type of situation. It'll be interesting to see how it flies in Kansas. I'm hoping it doesn't. I'm hoping the court throws it out the window and tells Mr. Roeder that he has to just take it like a man and face the fact that he's going to be charged with first-degree murder. It's a very simple reason that he can't use that justification, because it would be opening the door to absolute chaos and anarchy. There are times when taking a human life is justified. I'm going to give some examples. If someone attacks me, and in the process of defending myself, I kill them, that is justified homicide. If I come upon a person being attacked, and in an effort to defend the innocent person's life, I kill their attacker, that is justifiable homicide. If someone invades my nation, and I defend it, that would be justifiable homicide. And there pretty much aren't many other situations other than those three that are justifiable homicide. In fact, I really can't think of any. Because if I seek out someone that beat me up last month and kill them, that's murder. First-degree murder. And if there's someone that lives in my neighborhood who has a reputation for beating people up, and I decide I'm going to kill him before he beats me up, that is also first-degree murder. You just don't get to do that. You don't get to decide after the fact that you'd like to kill them, and you don't get to decide before the fact that you'd like to kill them. In particular, if a person is doing their job, it could be any job, and they're doing it well, and they're doing it legally, I don't get to kill them just because I really would prefer if they didn't do their job. And that is the situation with Dr. George Tiller. He was doing his job. An unpleasant job, a controversial job, but a perfectly legal job. Because you see, the trial of Scott Roeder isn't about whether abortion is or is not right or wrong, good or bad. The reality is, it's legal. Scott Roeder's murder trial was about the murder he committed against Dr. George Tiller. At the time he killed him, Dr. George Tiller was in his church. He wasn't hurting anyone. He wasn't doing any kind of job. He was an usher, worshiping in his church the way he did every weekend. And Scott Roeder walked in, pointed a gun at him, and killed him. That is not justified homicide. That is first-degree murder. And a jury's going to find him guilty, and a jury's going to send him away for the rest of his life. And the hardline right to life movement will continue to think of him as some kind of saint that has walked upon the earth. But he's a murderer. And anyone that applauds the murder of another human being isn't someone I want to spend time with. Because what Dr. Tiller did was not murder. It was a legal medical procedure. Now, there are people that think of it as murder, and they're entitled to think of it as murder. I used to think that vanilla ice cream was great. Doesn't make it didn't mean it was great. It just meant that I thought it was great. Just because you have an opinion on something doesn't give you the right to kill someone. It doesn't mean that your opinion is legal. It doesn't mean that your opinion has precedence over the law. And that is what this situation is. Scott Roeder had an opinion. He felt that his opinion was more important than the life of Dr. George Tiller. Stop for a second and think about that. What happens if you piss somebody off? Do you want them to be able to think, it's my opinion that this person doesn't deserve to live, so I'm going to kill them? As I said, it opens the door to chaos and anarchy. We live by a rule of law for a reason, because it keeps us all safe, or at least safer. Because I guess if you come right down to it, there is no such thing as safe. There's only more or less safe. You can never really truly be completely safe. Dr. George Tiller was standing in a church, worshiping his God, one of the few places in the world that you'd think that he would have been safe. People go to churches to seek sanctuary because they feel safe there. Scott Roeder took that away from every single parishioner in that church in the process of taking away Dr. George Tiller's life. I'm hoping that someday Mr. Roeder realizes what he did, but I have a sinking feeling he won't ever. That he'll feel justified in taking another human life because that human did something he didn't agree with. Well, I don't agree that Dr. George Tiller deserved to die. I'm at least a law-abiding citizen.